Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kendra Cook. Dolores County Broadcasting Network is the producer of DCTV with support from the Southwest TV Translator Association. If you have a news topic or event that you would like to see covered, give us a call. The studio number is 970-677-4119. Today's show runs Monday at noon and is uploaded to our YouTube channel and our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page to watch on demand. Today is June 10th, 2019. And now the News at Noon. From the Journal, flooding potential and river updates from Saturday with photos by Erica Alvaro and Jim Imiaga. Rivers in southwest Colorado on Saturday again approached flood stage as warm weather sent snowmelt downstream Friday night. The National Weather Service on Saturday issued flood advisories for the Mancos, Animas, and La Plata rivers, and residents reported flooding along the Dolores River about 10 miles north of town. Quote, "We have major flooding on Road 37, Dolores, 10 miles north of Dolores." Jeffrey L. Jarharas told the Journal 8 to 10 properties were getting water, he said. The flooding began Tuesday and had continued intermittently, Jarharas said. About a half acre of his neighbor's property was underwater. Flooding has happened at their property once or twice before, he said, but never like this. The Jarharases live along Road 37, right by where the now famous rock slide happened on Memorial Day weekend. On Tuesday, Jarharas used his tractor to lower the gravel on his driveway in order for the water to drain, he said. He also put up a wooden barrier in between the flooded area and his house, and some neighbors had come by to assist with filling sandbags. It's going to be getting worse all day long, he said. The ground and surrounding plants were so saturated that any additional water coming through just flooded. At the gauge in Dolores, the river was flowing Sunday morning at 4,300 cubic feet per second, about 256% of the average June 9 rate of 1,604 CFS. Saturday and Sunday, it reached 6.7 feet at the gauge, more than a foot shy of the 8-foot flood stage. The National Weather Service forecast for Montezuma County calls for sunny skies and high temperatures in the mid-70s through Monday and overnight lows in the upper 40s. The forecast for La Plata County calls for highs in the upper 70s and 40s. Meanwhile, flood advisories continued Saturday until further notice for the Mancos, Animas, and La Plata rivers. The river flow along the Mancos River was expected to remain near to slightly above bankfull, and minor lowland flooding was possible. Sunday morning, the river was at 5.4 feet, several inches above bankfull, and flood stage was at 6 feet. The river was expected to rise about 5.3 feet on Monday. A flood advisory also continued Saturday for the La Plata River at Hesperus. The flows along the La Plata River were expected to remain slightly above bankfull, and flooding is possible. The National Weather Service said bankfull stage is 5 feet and flood stage is 5.5 feet. Sunday morning, the river was at 5.1 feet and expected to rise to nearly 5.3 feet by Monday morning. The Animas River was flowing Sunday afternoon at 6.8 feet. The National Weather Service said the river was expected to reach 6.9 feet by noon on Monday, a foot shy of the flood stage of 8 feet. Moderate flooding would occur at 9 feet and major flooding at 10.5 feet. The record high of the Animas is 11 feet, the Weather Service says. Officials advised that you be careful around the river's edge as debris and fast water can be hazardous. And from the Durango Herald, 3 people suffered serious injuries in a head-on crash on Friday afternoon on U.S. Highway 160 just east of Bayfield. Mancos resident Jeremy Cooper, age 46, was driving a 1986 white Ford F-250 pickup westbound in the eastbound lane when he hit a 2014 blue Toyota Prius head-on, said Captain Adrian Driscoll with the Colorado State Patrol. The crash occurred about 1 mile west of the Piedra River. "We do not believe speed was a factor, but we are looking at some kind of impairment, and charges are pending against Cooper," he said. Law enforcement was investigating what substance caused Cooper's impairment. Cooper injured both Bayfield residents in the Prius. Gail Grossman, age 75, was driving the Prius. Her husband, Richard Grossman, age 75, was in the passenger seat, Driscoll said. Richard Grossman is a well-known doctor in southwest Colorado for his work as an OBGYN and his work with Planned Parenthood. He has since retired. Everyone involved in the crash was taken to Mercy Regional Medical Center for treatment, Driscoll said. The Grossmans were wearing seatbelts. Cooper was not wearing a seatbelt, he said. Everyone involved is expected to recover. Both vehicles had to be towed from the scene. The crash closed the eastbound lane of Highway 160 for about 3 hours. Reported by the Durango Herald, AP File, and Patrick Armijo photos. Durango marijuana enthusiasts have almost a dozen places to buy cannabis in Durango, but there aren't any public venues to consume it. That may change next year, but only if city leaders decide or are prodded by residents to do so. Colorado lawmakers passed a law this year allowing marijuana hospitality establishments or cannabis consumption clubs across the state. The rule changes Colorado Constitutional Amendment 64, which legalized recreational marijuana by overriding a state ban against smoking in commercial establishments and affording businesses and governments an opportunity to monetize consumption of cannabis. But local governments must opt into the measure and have the ability to craft their own rules and regulations concerning cannabis consumption clubs, said Kevin Bomer, executive director of the Colorado Municipal League. The state law allows for cannabis consumption in approved clubs, dispensary, and lounge combinations, or eateries where marijuana consumption is allowed separate from normal operations. Local governments could decide to ban smoking and only allow consumption of concentrates or edibles, for instance, Bomer said, or policymakers could disallow mobile consumption lounges like a party bus for marijuana use, Bomer said. Since Amendment 64 passed, the whole premise of marijuana in Colorado was based on local standards in the manner in which communities choose to move forward with it. This is consistent with that, Bomer said, which raises the question, is there enough political will, business interest, and public acceptance to introduce marijuana hospitality spaces in southwest Colorado? We shall see. And now, let's take a look at the weather. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend. Sunday's cool-off was a bit of a surprise, but welcome after the hot and windy Saturday. So today, sunny with a high near 75 is forecast, with southeast winds sustained around 10 to 15 miles an hour, becoming southwest in the afternoon, with gusts to 25 miles an hour. And tonight, mostly cloudy, and then gradually becoming clear with a low around 49. West-southwest winds settle down to 5 to 10 miles an hour, becoming east-northeast after midnight. Then on Tuesday, we have a fire weather watch in effect for June 11th from noon till 7 p.m. Tuesday starts sunny with a high near 79 degrees. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour, becoming northwest 10 to 15 in the afternoon. Tuesday night mostly clear with a low around 51. North-northwest winds 5 to 15 miles an hour, become northeast after midnight. And Wednesday will continue to heat up, sunny with a high near 81 degrees. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour, becoming west in the afternoon. Wednesday night partly cloudy with a low around 54. So then by Thursday, a mostly sunny day overall with a high near 83 degrees. Thursday night, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms arrives. You can see the lightning graphics through to Saturday for possible thunderstorms. So even though we've had good moisture, those tall weeds will be drying up, creating fuel. So keep an eye out for smoke and call it into dispatch. Into the evening Thursday, mostly cloudy skies with a low to 54. Then Friday morning again, that slight chance of showers lingers. Partly sunny with a high near 79. And into Friday night, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms remains in the current forecast. Partly cloudy skies with a low around 51. But headed into Father's Day weekend for Saturday, we're looking mostly sunny with a high near 77, and Saturday night partly cloudy with a low around 52, and into Sunday right now still looking mostly sunny with a high near 77. We'll get a more definitive outlook for the weekend as the week continues. And now back to the news. From the Durango Herald, photo Jonathan Romeo. As the Animas River approaches peak flow, concerns are being raised that the city of Durango created a hazard when it added 2 new rapids to the Whitewater Park, resulting in many rafting companies choosing to bypass the park for safety reasons. It's an unnatural hazard at the entry of the park, and it creates a rafting experience we're not selling to our guests, said Alex Michael, owner of Mile to Wild Rafting and Jeep Tours. It's just been unfortunate. Since the 1980s, the city has made tweaks to the Whitewater Park, which flows alongside Santa Rita Park. But in the summer of 2016, the city spent $1 million to create 2 new features just above the park, with the sole purpose of diverting more water into the city's water intake for municipal use. It's these new features that are drawing criticism and concern as the Animas River rises to higher than normal flows for the first time since the ledges were built. As of Friday, the river had usurped 6,000 cubic feet per second. The Animas usually peaks around 4,700. They're man-made nightmares, said James Wilkes, co-owner of Mountain Waters Rafting. They're just not natural, and it's very difficult for a raft to pass through it. Wilkes said the 2 features are unavoidable and span the entire length of the river, essentially functioning as a low-head dam, one of the biggest safety hazards on a river because of the strong recirculating current that can trap boats and kayaks. If a boat flips or people fall out on the spot, they have a long, cold swim through the entire Whitewater Park, which has several major rapids and icy water temperatures in the low 40s. The further up the rapids, the trouble potentially is encountered the more significant the consequences of a swim are, Michael said. If people fall out at the entry of the rapids, they're in for a very long, cold, and bumpy swim. Michael and Mild to Wild used to run trips down the Whitewater Park at high water before the new additions were added a few years ago. But now, he said, trips put on the river below the Whitewater Park in a safer stretch of the waterway. Matt Wilson, owner of Four Corners Whitewater, also said he no longer sends trips down the Whitewater Park since the new features were built. Wilkes said Mountain Waters still runs the Whitewater Park, selling the trip as a Class 4 serious experience accompanied by a safety boat. Customers are required to wear helmets, wetsuits, and sign an additional waiver. Wilkes said his best river guides, who typically run the Class 5 Upper Animas River, a section of rapids below Silverton, have taken over the town section at high water. It's no place for kids or families, Wilkes said, and it's just unfortunate, I feel, because it has scared a lot of the casual weekend family boats off the river. No one wants to deal with it. Michael said that he heard the city wanted to try to improve those two features during the fall and winter when water is low and work can be done in the river, but the work was unable to get started. He said he's heard that work will happen when the river level goes down. The Animas River, according to the Colorado River Basin Forecast Center, was expected to peak over the weekend around 7,000 CFS and continue at high flows for the foreseeable future, with a lot of snowpack still in the high country of the San Juan Mountains ready to come down. For now, most raft companies will take customers down below the Whitewater Park to the Dalabetta or Basin Creek takeout. The river couldn't be more fun south of town, they said. And reported in the Journal from High Country News, Photo Luna Anna Archery. If more ranchers knew about water buffalo, they would forget about cows, Jose Miranda, a Carbondale rancher, said one morning last January over breakfast. He listed their advantages: the milk tastes great and it's healthier, with less cholesterol, 11% more protein, 9% more calcium, and 37% more iron than cow's milk. Water buffalo have environmental benefits too. They're able to thrive on more marginal pastures and less resource-intensive foods than dairy cows. Originally from Southeast Asia, water buffalo have been imported to many parts of the world, most famously Italy, where they are coveted for their milk, source of the soft and creamy cheese mozzarella di bufala. Water buffalo herds are now found in the Americas, from the high Andes to the dry prairies of central Canada. Still, Miranda has encountered plenty of skeptics. How, they ask, does an animal from the tropics survive winters, especially a hard winter like the last one at over 6,000 feet in Colorado's Roaring Fork Valley? Miranda, who came from a hot climate himself, merely replies, it's harder for them, just like it is for many people and other farm animals. In any case, he has always been drawn to difficult things. Miranda was born and raised in Venezuela's Los Llanos, the central flatlands where the family owned a water buffalo ranch. Cows didn't thrive in Venezuela's native grasslands, so for decades, cattle ranchers planted non-native grasses at great cost. When water buffalo were introduced in 1976, the year Miranda was born, Venezuela's ranchers started realizing that they didn't have to remove native grasses anymore. It's ironic, he admits, that a foreign animal could help preserve the natural landscape. Miranda and his family moved to Carbondale, where Miranda's wife was from, and Miranda got a job as a ranch manager at the Tiber Cattle Ranch. In 2014, Colorado delisted the water buffalo as an exotic species, and Miranda decided to begin building a herd. A hobby farmer from Fort Collins named Richard Wheeler spearheaded the delisting after he pointed out that the Asian water buffalo and African water buffalo had been incorrectly categorized as the same species. Asian water buffalo have been domesticated for longer than cattle, he argued, and by keeping them listed as exotic, the state was hindering dairy commerce. The next year, Miranda bought his first 2 water buffalo calves from a Texas breeder. The next year, he bought a couple of more, but buying his own property was too expensive, so he began leasing plots of land around Carbondale and transformed an old trailer into a portable dairy barn, painted light blue and emblazoned with the words mobile milking trailer. It's a DIY model he hopes other aspiring farmers might follow, one that might make it easier for a place like the Roaring Fork Valley, with its emphasis on local food, to actually support the farmers and ranchers who produce it. With the lack of an established water buffalo industry in the U.S., finding reliable animals has remained a challenge, and so is capital. Access to land is another challenge across the West, and especially in the Roaring Fork Valley. Rising property values mean the cost of a mortgage far surpasses what a farmer or rancher can produce from agriculture. At one point, Miranda looked into buying a house on 40 acres, just enough to use as a winter base camp for the the buffalo, but the cheapest he could find was $700,000. Farther up the valley, closer to Carbondale, it was at least $1.5 million. In the past few decades, many of the older ranchers and farmers have sold their property to developers or put the land in land trusts as conservation easements. The easements protect the farmland from becoming subdivisions, but don't ensure that it stays in production. In the meantime, Miranda has been innovating his way around the challenges he faces. By renting land and building his mobile dairy, he can keep costs low, buying time to grow his herd and make connections with future buyers. Chefs and foodies consider buffalo mozzarella a premium product worth much more than regular mozzarella. One restaurateur from nearby Aspen invited Miranda to taste the mozzarella he made from buffalo milk imported all the way from Italy. The cheese regularly sells for $30 a pound in the U.S., and Miranda realized that his only competitors were the Italians. He could offer the same product locally and more cheaply. Still, even Wheeler, the man who got water buffalo off Colorado's exotic species list, remains skeptical of the animal's ranching's potential. It's a niche market, he said. Maybe some local cheese stores would be interested, but it's mostly a novelty. Miranda has learned to ignore the skepticism, and after all, he does not give up easily. He no longer thinks of returning permanently to Venezuela. Most of his fellow ranchers have moved their herds to neighboring Colombia anyway, while here in the mountains of Colorado, Miranda is finally rebuilding what he lost when he left his native country. With another of his heifers pregnant and 9 calves expected for next year, Miranda is confident that in a few years he'll have enough milk-producing buffalo to begin making cheese commercially. And today's High Canyon Country happenings. A Sukla auction is being held on June 15th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a preview available on the 14th from 9 a.m. to 5. That's at 1856 East Main Street in Cortez. There's tons of interesting items, and you can find their flyer around town or look on their Facebook page for their event listing. Live music of Little Brother will be playing at the Wild Edge Brewing Collective on Friday, June 14th. Join this energetic duo as they rock them into the night of blues, funk, and rock. Dance like nobody's watching. There's no cover, and it runs from 7 to 9 p.m. And you can also join Montezuma Orchard Restoration Project, or MORP, in keeping Colorado orchard country by attending its Heritage Apple Tree Sale and fundraiser on this Saturday, June 15th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Directions and details are online at montezumaorchard.org. And all of these happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with our YouTube channel, on-demand replays, weather, notices, and original stories and local posts. To share your event or information, you can contact us by email, dcbnnews@gmail.com, or call us at the station. It's 970-677-4119. Thank you for tuning in. News at Noon airs at noon Monday through Thursday, and then is available on demand online on our YouTube channel and our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page to watch on demand. Please like us there and share it with a friend. This has been a production of DCTV. For the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, Colorado, USA, I'm Kendra Cook. Thank you for watching.